Richard of York was born into a world of power and privilege, a world where lineage and heritage determined one's destiny. His lineage was a tapestry woven with the threads of English royalty, a complex web of noble bloodlines and ancestral ties. He descended from Edward III on both sides of his family, a connection that bolstered his claim to the throne and solidified his place in the annals of history. This dual descent gave him a formidable claim to the throne, a claim that would shape his ambitions and his destiny. Richard's father was Richard, Earl of Cambridge, a nobleman of significant influence and standing. His mother was Anne Mortimer, a woman of noble birth and considerable heritage. This lineage placed him at the heart of English nobility, surrounded by the power and prestige that came with his birthright. Richard's early life was marked by privilege and turmoil, a dichotomy that would define his character and his future. He was born in 1411, a time of great change and uncertainty in England. This was during a time of great instability in England, a period marked by conflict and upheaval. The 100 Years' War raged on, a seemingly endless conflict that consumed the nation and its people. The House of Lancaster held the throne, but their grip was precarious, their rule constantly challenged by rival factions. Richard's early years were shaped by these events, his upbringing influenced by the ever-present threat of war and political strife. They instilled in him a sense of destiny and ambition, a belief that he was meant for greatness. Richard's lineage was both a blessing and a curse, a double-edged sword that would define his life. It provided him with immense opportunities, doors that were open to him because of his noble birth. It also made him a target of suspicion and envy, his every move watched and scrutinized by those who feared his potential. From a young age, Richard was aware of the weight of his ancestry, the expectations that came with his noble blood. He understood the expectations placed upon him, the pressure to live up to his family's legacy. He would navigate the treacherous waters of English politics, a world where alliances were fleeting and loyalty was rare. The young Richard was a quick study in the art of power, learning the intricacies of court life and the strategies needed to survive. He learned the importance of loyalty and strategy, the need to build alliances and the dangers of betrayal. He witnessed firsthand the fickle nature of alliances, the way friends could become enemies in the blink of an eye. These early lessons would prove invaluable in his later years, shaping his approach to leadership and power. As he matured, Richard's ambition grew, fueled by his belief in his own destiny and the legacy of his ancestors. He believed he was destined for greatness, that he was meant to leave his mark on history. He would stop at nothing to claim his birthright, to fulfill the destiny he believed was his. He would become the King of England, a ruler whose legacy would be remembered for generations to come. Richard's inheritance was vast, encompassing not just physical land, but also a rich tapestry of history and responsibility. It was not merely about land and titles. It was about legacy and expectation, a complex web of duties and privileges that had been passed down through generations. His father's untimely execution for treason cast a long, dark shadow over his early life. This tragic event not only marked him, but also strengthened his resolve to reclaim his family's honor. Richard inherited the title of Duke of York, a position that made him one of the most powerful men in England. This title came with immense influence and equally immense expectations. Through his mother, he inherited a claim to the throne that was arguably stronger than the reigning King Henry VI's. This claim was a source of both hope and conflict. This dual inheritance ignited within Richard an ambition that would shape his destiny. He believed he was the rightful heir to the throne, a belief that fueled his every action and decision. He was determined to assert his claim no matter the cost. The weight of his lineage fueled his every action. It drove him to prove himself worthy of his ancestors, to live up to the legacy of the York name. He sought to emulate the military prowess of Edward III, a king known for his battlefield successes and strategic genius. He aimed to surpass the political acumen of his forebears, to navigate the treacherous waters of medieval politics with skill and cunning. Richard's ambition was not driven by mere greed or lust for power. He believed he was acting on behalf of a higher purpose, a divine mission to restore order and justice to the realm. He saw himself as the savior of England, a nation that had been torn apart by internal strife and weak leadership. He believed he could restore the nation to its former glory, to a time when England was strong and united. Richard's inheritance was more than just land and titles. It was a burden of responsibility. He carried the weight of his family's legacy and the hopes of those who believed in the Yorkist claim. He carried the hopes and aspirations of those who believed in the Yorkist claim. These supporters saw in Richard a leader who could bring about the change they so desperately desired. He was determined to fulfill his destiny and claim what he believed was rightfully his. His journey was fraught with challenges, but his resolve never wavered. Richard's story is one of ambition, duty, and the relentless pursuit of a vision that would shape the course of English history. Richard of York was not content to be a mere figurehead. He was a man of action, eager to prove himself on the battlefield. His early military campaigns showcased his strategic brilliance. They revealed his courage under fire. In the 1430s, he was sent to France. This was to fight in the 100 Years' War. He was still a young man, but he quickly earned a reputation as a skilled commander. He was decisive and ruthless. He secured several victories for the English. These victories cemented his reputation as a military leader. They also fueled his ambition. Richard's time in France was a crucible. It forged him into a formidable warrior. It honed his strategic thinking. He learned the art of siege warfare. He mastered the complexities of logistics and supply lines. He understood the importance of discipline and morale in the heat of battle. Richard's experiences in France would prove invaluable when he returned to England. He would face challenges that would test his skills to the limit. Richard's most notable military triumph came in 1441. He was appointed Lieutenant of France. This was a position of immense power and responsibility. He was tasked with turning the tide of the war in England's favour. Richard rose to the challenge with characteristic zeal. He reformed the English army in France. He improved its discipline and training. He led a series of successful campaigns against the French. He captured several strategic towns and fortresses. His victories boosted English morale. They struck fear into the hearts of the enemy. Richard's campaigns in France were not without their setbacks. He faced constant pressure from the French. He had to contend with dwindling resources and political machinations back home. However, he persevered. He displayed a tenacity and determination that earned him the respect of his men and the grudging admiration of his enemies. Richard's triumphs in France marked the high point of his military career. They cemented his reputation as one of the most capable commanders of his age. He had achieved what many thought was impossible. He had brought the French to their knees. Richard's military successes did not translate into political stability back home. Despite his victories on the battlefield, the kingdom he returned to was far from peaceful. He returned to England to find a kingdom rife with intrigue. The court was a hotbed of conspiracies, with every nobleman plotting for his own gain. The weak and indecisive King Henry VI was unable to provide effective leadership. His inability to make firm decisions left a power vacuum that others were eager to fill. Factions vied for power at court. Each group had its own agenda, and the lack of a strong central authority only fueled their ambitions. Richard found himself drawn into the web of political maneuvering. He quickly realized that to survive, he would need to play the game as well. His lineage and military achievements made him a powerful player. His reputation on the battlefield gave him a certain level of respect and fear among the nobles. His enemies feared his ambition. They saw in him a potential threat to their own power and influence. His allies saw him as a potential savior. They believed that with Richard at the helm, the kingdom could be restored to its former glory. Richard navigated this treacherous landscape with caution. He knew that every move he made was being watched and judged. He knew that one wrong move could spell his downfall. The stakes were incredibly high, and the margin for error was slim. He formed alliances with powerful nobles. These alliances were not just about friendship, they were strategic moves designed to strengthen his position. He carefully cultivated his image as a loyal subject. Publicly, he showed unwavering support for the king, even as he plotted his own rise to power. He waited for the opportune moment to make his move. Patience was key, and Richard was willing to wait as long as it took. Richard understood that power was a game of patience and strategy. Like a master chess player, he thought several moves ahead. He was content to bide his time. He knew that rushing into action could be disastrous. He built up his power base. Slowly but surely he gathered a loyal following of nobles who believed in his vision. He waited for the inevitable moment when he would be called upon to claim his destiny. He knew that his time would come, and he wanted to be ready. The serpent of ambition had coiled itself around Richard's heart. Its grip was tight and its whispers were impossible to ignore. It whispered promises of greatness in his ear. The allure of power was too strong to resist. He was determined to seize the throne. He believed it was his destiny to rule. He would rule England as its rightful king. In his mind, there was no other possible outcome. The throne was his, and he would stop at nothing to claim it. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history on History Uncovered. We're passionate about bringing you the stories and events that have shaped our world, and we're thrilled you're along for the ride. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more historical tales, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue creating content that dives deep into the past. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and suggestions, so feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next adventure through history.